even though I gave up a home run to tie it, that may be the most chilling time on the field that I was pitching that I had ever experienced in my 14 years, because of the admiration, the love for that man in Yankee, because he was Mr. Yankee.
Donnie Baseball.
Donnie Baseball.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Up Your Average podcast, where Keith and Doug give no-nonsense advice to level up your life. So buckle up and listen closely to Up Your Average.
Good morning. Welcome to another session of Up Your Average, where we try to bring value to you every time we get together. Today, we're going to give you a little bonus session. I'm a former baseball player in the olden days, believe it or not, 6'4" catcher, and just loved the sport of baseball during the day. And today, we've got former number one draft pick in the Major League, Andy Bennis, joining us. And Andy is going to talk to us a little bit about some fun stories from the Major Leagues. Evansville is a great hotbed of baseball with himself and Don Mattingly coming from there. And so I hope you enjoy this all-star break celebration of Andy Bennis and great baseball stories. Good morning, Phil. Keith. Another great day to be alive. Talk to us, introduce our guest today, would you?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was reflecting on this morning, but I've had the pleasure of knowing this large gentleman to my left probably for 40 years. He showed up at my house when he was 15 years old. He had asked my sister out on a date. And one thing led to another, and they ended up getting married and having a long, thriving relationship. But I've known him for a long time. And so this is my friend, my brother-in-law, Andy Bennis.
Andy, I was kind of going with the St. Louis vibe today. So
I didn't even think about that. I played for 4 teams, but that was my favorite. So
yeah, me too. So 1968. What year were you born?
67.
Okay. So 1968. I don't even know what road you go from Evansville, Indiana to St. Louis. My grandpa, I'm the baby of all the grandkids, takes me to a Cardinals game. Doubleheader, old school doubleheader. Mike Therese is on the mound, and I had no idea what I was watching. But from that day going forward, I've been a Cardinals fan. I think because
it was a good year to be a Cardinals fan.
Oh,
being in the World Series.
Yeah,
Bob Gibson was a heater on the mound, which he always was. But
how do you think he ranks in all of baseball history as pitchers?
He's really good. It's the game's changed a lot. I watched him strike out the last guy in the 67 World Series. I believe it's 67. And it's a big, what they would call a sweeper right now. In my generation of playing, that flat pitch didn't really play because the swings were flatter. It plays now. But tremendous competitor. And one of the cool things about being a Cardinal was we'd see these guys a lot in the clubhouse. And we'd have the opportunity to interact with him and Lou Brock and Red Cheney's and Musial. Steve Carlton would come in some, even though they traded him. So getting that wisdom was super good. And listening to Lou Brock talk about base stealing, I would sit in there because I'm holding these base stealers, right?
Right.
And so a lot of, just a wealth of knowledge. And man, that guy was gritty. And he said he never threw at anybody. They just didn't get out of the way. So that was one of the things. He's a tough, nasty dude, and you could tell on the mound.
So a friend of mine was a championship wrestler, and when he would, if you'd ask him, was it real or not, then he would throw you around or whatever. But my feed on social media, I get fights in baseball. So Are the pitchers literally retaliating? Are you going to get beamed because of what happened in the previous inning?
There's a lot of yes. The answer is yes. And some of the stuff that's going on today, people are like, can you believe that's happening? Why is it happening? And my answer is that guy on the mound that's throwing at that guy doesn't have to grab a bat and go hit. But it's a real thing. I had hit, John Smoltz hit one of Matt Williams, who's our third baseman in Arizona, in April. And so I dropped a guy later in the game. And Smoltz after the game said, I can't believe he's throwing at a guy. I'm like, I don't care, man. You hit one of our guys, whatever. I'm facing Maddox in September. And the first pitch is a slow breaking ball. I'm like, that's really odd. I mean, I'm a pitcher hitting. The next one was inside. And I'm like, and it ended up behind me. And he had Eddie Perez was his personal catcher. And I said, Eddie, just tell him to hit me. And the umpire, whoa. And he goes, I go, this is from April. They're like, they're going to get me. And Eddie said Maddox was having control problems.
Yeah, right.
And so he ended up walking me and I get to first base. And they're not holding me on. And he whips and throws the ball to try to hit me at first base. And I've got to jump to get out of the way. But there's long memories and you never know. And Jack Clark, when he was a teammate of mine, said, there's a time and a place. And it used to happen. You, as a pitcher, you protect your guys. If they hit our superstar, we're not going to hit their 8-hitter. We're going to hit their superstar. And when the time is right. And so, yeah, long memories. And doesn't happen today as much just because there's not really a retaliation.
I was probably an average athlete, but the thing I liked about baseball is that there's just a whole different mindset than other sports. Like you've got the boys have free time. If you're a pitcher, you've got a lot more free time, but there's a lot of social life in baseball that isn't, and maybe in other sports.
Right. For a starting pitcher, we have 4 days in between starts, and there's a lot that goes on in the dugout talking about baseball and life, and a lot of times just nonsense, even though a game's going on. A lot of baseball talk when you're going to face the team that you're playing at that time. But yeah, just guys being guys.
What's your favorite memory of Andy and baseball?
My favorite memory, there's a bunch of them.
You sat in the upper deck in 1993, the only time I was in the All-Star game. And when you play in the All-Star game, which I found it, you get 4 tickets on the field, and then you can buy extra tickets. But I was in the National League, and you and Kristen, my mother and father-in-law, and my son Drew were in literally the top of the upper deck in the back row.
Yes.
So you were there.
I was there, and I think Camden Yard had opened the year before.
It had.
And they kind of started the trend of the retro ballpark.
Okay.
It's like everything went back 50 years to what it used to look like, but had all the modern amenities.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool. But the memory that I remember the most was you started your career with the Padres, spent 5 or 6 years with them, and then after the All-Star break, the Mariners needed more arms on their staff, and so they traded for you. So you went up to Seattle. As luck would have it, I was on a business trip in Seattle the weekend that the Mariners played the Yankees. Don Mattingly, who's also an Evansville native, was playing for the Yankees, and he was pitching for the Mariners. And I got to see all 3 games that weekend. Yeah. And it was unbelievable. And I was there with Jenny, and Kristen ended up coming out as well. But that was like...
Game 5 was epic.
Oh.
It was epic. It's one of the top... They have it rated in the top 15.
Really?
In playoff history. And so they'll replay it a lot. But that game went, I think I threw 6 in a third or so, and we tied it in the 8th. And then Randy Johnson comes in to relieve. He'd thrown a complete game 2 nights before, and that place was shaking.
It was the what was it called? The Kingdom?
The Kingdom. Yeah, the place was awful.
But that was awesome. Yeah,
but it was really
your
cool.
Team you had like everybody on that team was an all-star pretty much.
They pretty much were. Griffey, Edgar Martinez, Randy Johnson. What's crazy is the 2 backup shortstops in that series were A-Rod and Jeter. And we came back and tied the game because the Yankees didn't want to put their setup guy in, who was Mariano Rivera. And so it was an epic series and just a really crazy deal. Mattingly got his last hit off me in that game. He kind of flipped a double down the left field line, and he'd homered off of me in Yankee Stadium to tie the game. And so those were his last 2 hits, and we were 8 years apart and had never played against each other because back then there was no interleague play.
So what was that like having the hometown guy homer off of you?
It was really surreal. And they have a documentary about this. And Mattingly said, I was looking for a changeup. I never threw changeups. But when I got up there, I tried to turn over a fastball, kind of like a BP fastball. So it was off my fastball, and I threw it in the middle of the plate, and he hits this home run. And even though I gave up a home run to tie it, that may be the most chilling time on the field that I was pitching that I had ever experienced in my 14 years, because of the admiration, the love for that man, and because he was Mr. Yankee.
Donnie Baseball.
Donnie Baseball.
Yeah.
It literally, that place erupted, and people threw their beverages onto the field, and there was like a stop in the play, and they're chanting Donnie Baseball. And I mean, I had chills even though I gave up the home run. I'm thankful it just tied it. The admiration for him, and I thought, wow, what a legacy this guy is leaving. Really cool, because he did it the right way, and they appreciated that.
His brother was my assistant basketball coach, and so his cousin was on my little league team, Evansville East, and he wasn't in the same league as Donnie, but we knew East Little League versus North. We knew all about Donnie at a young age, and then playing high school sports against him and being average and watching the stud
he was on.
Yeah, and his brother would trash talking to us. But the rumor, or what his brother said, is when Donnie, I don't remember how much older Randy is than Donnie, but
Randy was a good athlete.
Yeah, and he was
Quarterback in Evansville.
Yeah, really good athlete.
He said they would throw golf wiffle balls to little Donnie, and he'd just jack him as a little kid, and it's like his eyes had to be so
We were
special.
8 years apart, and so they would say, "Hey, have you followed him?" I was in grade school when he got drafted and started to move on. So I didn't really start following his career until he got to the big leagues, because I was
So much younger.
in high school. Yeah, so much younger.
Yeah.
Now, as a young dad, I kind of gave up sports because I just didn't have time for running a business, all these things. But somewhere,
Was it that, or you just weren't that good?
no, I was never that good. Yeah, no, I was never that good.
We're all washed up athletes. So
Yeah. My stories are better than the reality. So it seemed like in the 90s, what changed from now Caleb loves sports, so I would watch things with him. He literally woke me up in the 9th inning with the Rangers game. Was that at 11?
Right.
Yeah, because I'd already gone to bed. And so, but it seemed like in the 90s, it went from you knew the whole team forever to you got to kind of watch every year to see who's on the team. Is that when that happened with the shift in the lineup because of free agency and things?
Yeah, free agency changed a lot, and a lot of guys are changing teams, obviously, and each year was going to be different. You didn't have that Ozzie and Tommy Herr and Jack Clark and Pendleton. You didn't have those same groups later on. There were guys coming in and out, and you had to learn new teammates, and you had guys getting traded to the team that you wanted to throw a ball and hit them in the neck. Now, I will say we talked about, hitting guys, but I always would aim. I mean, we're guys, we're dads, we're husbands, right? And you never wanted to mess with anything above the shoulders.
Okay.
I mean, every once in a while, a ball would get, you don't throw it where you want to all the time. But if you were going to hit a guy, you want to kind of hit him in the ribs so it would hurt, but nothing that would be life-altering. And by the way, I got thrown out a lot. A couple of my good buddies, Daryl Kyle was pitching against me in Colorado, and he hit me, and I'm like, I picked up the ball, and the umpire's like, whoa. I threw it back to him. I go, it didn't even hurt. And it hurt really bad. You're not going to do that. So the next morning, we were playing golf together. He's like, sorry, dude, they told me to hit you, and I go, it really hurt, just so you know, even though I said that.
I think I told my dad that one time when he's whipping me. That didn't hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when you think about funny moments on the Cardinals, what are a couple ideas that come to mind?
Well, some of them I can't share, but most of the funny things would happen late at night on a bus ride to the airport or to the hotel. guys have had a few cocktails, and you have the back of the bus hooting on the front of the bus, and then it's pretty funny. But some of the things are very real. If a team's not hitting, one time Dave Duncan came in, and our pitchers were pitching really well, and I think it was 96, and we were really good. We're in the LCS. And he goes, "Come on, guys, we've got to score some runs." And Brian Jordan, who played in the NFL, and then he gave that up.
Bad, right? Safety, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
rifled guys, and he was our right fielder. And when Dunk said that, he literally went and jumped over the couch and grabbed a hold of him. Now, Dunk was a tough dude, but he was not going to take forward. And everybody had to intervene. But things like that, I mean, you remember fun things. You remember some of the things guys did on the field. Guys screw up. We'd have a guy round first. He'd fall down and, have to go back. He was going to have a double, maybe a triple, and you trip or whatever. And the next day on the field, we'd have spray paint on the infield with an outline of a body and like R.I.P. So things like that.
I love it.
Yeah, things like that are what you remember. Just the funny things. You don't remember as much about the games. You can remember, at least for me, but I remember my teammates, the interactions, because you live with these people. You're with them more than you're with your family, and so you really get close, and the good teams get close. The teams, they would say, take 25 taxis to the ballpark.
Yeah.
Those teams usually didn't win because it's all individual. And the good teams have to work together and trust each other. And that's one of the things I learned. Tom Pagnozzi, I'll make it quick. I'm pitching a game. It's hot. I'm not pitching well. He's putting down all his fingers and calls timeout. He comes out and he says, "What are you doing? What's going on?" I'm like, pitchers can be a little finicky. And I'm like, "It's hot," all those things. I'm like, "It's just not happening." And about that time, Joe West, who's a tough dude and the umpire, he came out and he's like, "What's going on, Pags?" I said, "Can you take him and get away? I don't even want to talk to him," right? And this is like 40,000 people at Busch Stadium. And so he goes, "No, I want to hear what's going on." And Pags said, "Andy, I got a few things for you. Number one, I keep putting fingers, you don't have that many pitches. Number two," and I'm going to paraphrase, "the ones you have stink." So Joe and I'm going to make it easy on Joe and I are going to go back behind home plate. We're going to talk about this mound visit. Throw whatever you want. Your stuff's not that good. And I'm like, "Okay, game on." I'm throwing 96 with a 90-mile-an-hour slider. And unfortunately, I was thinking I want to wedge the ball in his face mask or bounce it.
Short hop.
Yeah, just to make my point. And so he's back there sideways, catching everything and throwing it. At the end of the inning, we go in. That was probably my best inning because I'm like, "Okay, game on," right? We get underneath and I'm like, "I'm going to drop it." I mean, it's going to happen because everything like that's going to happen in the tunnel. And he said something that impacted me the rest of my career. He goes, "You need to learn to trust people. And I'm your guy out there. Trust me because I care more about you than anybody here. And I want what's good for you. And when you're on a team that doesn't win, it's all about you for the most part.
Right.
And what my stats are and all that." And that was a big impact. From that point on, I'm like, okay, my relationship with the catcher changed. And it was really cool because I threw a Pagnozzi and then a Matheny. And I had full trust in both of those guys. And so there wasn't a whole lot of shaking from then on because we really worked on, here's our game plan. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go after these hitters here. Now let's go do it.
That's beautiful.
Trust is important.
So trust, and going back to what you were saying before that, Andy, that the teams that gel are the teams that win. And so there's got to be trust amongst the teammates, but somebody, it seems like beyond the manager, somebody on the bench has to get that trust started for a team. How does that work?
Right. There are just natural leaders, and some got great Indiana guy. One of my favorites, Scott Roll.
Okay.
Scott didn't talk a lot. So he was a leader by example. And if you looked at a guy and said, one of our kids, who should I model my game after? He's the guy because he played the game the right way. But Albert was like that. He was a leader by example. It's not always the guy that you think's going to be the leader. However, and it typically is a position guy because they're out there every day. But those guys really create a unity within the team. And guys may be on the fringe and then they start buying in because they know if we're going to accomplish a goal, it's going to be together. And so we had some really good leaders over the time. Jay Buhner. It wasn't Griffey. It was Jay Buhner in Seattle.
I forgot about Buhner.
And he was the guy. And he was a guy that would really get on guys if they weren't there and locked in, or he'd pat them on the back if they were having a hard time. And so really, he's the guy that welcomed me and Vince Coleman, got traded over about the same time. And both had an impact on what happened there in the winning. And so it's not always the guy you think.
I know from watching sports over the years that when teams are buying all these great athletes, a lot of times it doesn't work because they can't get that. Tell me, were you on the team when Vince got famous, or is that or how did that go?
That was before me.
Okay.
That was in maybe 87. They were playing, I think, Minnesota.
I don't know
how it happened.
I don't know his stats.
I played. Are you talking about with the tarp?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I'm like, I wasn't in the big leagues yet, but I'm thinking, I know this tarp comes up and then it rolls out, and he's the reason why they don't have tarps like that anymore. I'm sure. It's crazy to me how you could get caught up in that. I mean,
yeah. So those of you who don't know, he got ran over by the tarp machine. Like they just ran over him, and I think he was one of the great base stealers. But people that know his name, they don't think about that first.
He played left field, and he was a runner. He could play great defense, and he was a leadoff guy. So his game was, I need to get on base. I'm going to steal second. Ozzy's going to move me over, and Tommy Herr's going to figure out a way. And it might just be a ground out to the second baseman, and we get a run, and we might not even get a hit if he walked. So that was Whitey Ball in the 80s. And for him to get run over by that was not like me, right? It was like, I could see me getting run over. I didn't get out of the way. But this thing is moving at a snail's pace. It's not like, It's not like the freeway, you know.
The Cardinals were a lot of fun. I don't watch them as much now as I did, but I remember in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of fun because Gary Templeton was playing shortstop, and he had a little attitude about him. And I don't remember if he flipped off the fans or whatever. And then that's how you get Ozzy, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
and Tempe and I were teammates in San Diego. He went to San Diego for Ozzy.
Yeah.
People don't realize Gary was a much better player.
Right.
But they just didn't want him there.
Yeah.
He was the one time he was an all-star. And he said, if I ain't starting, I ain't departing. If I'm not the guy to start, hey, find somebody else. But he was a good teammate and played hard.
Yeah.
And but he ended up not being the same player. Basically, his knees kind of gave out.
Really?
Part of it was probably playing on the turf as long as he did. But he was a phenomenal player.
I think a lot of times people don't understand the wear and tear on athletes. I was on a flight last week, and a former Pacer was on the flight, and I looked up his age, and he was my age, but he was walking a little bit older than me.
I did see the former Cardinals, the Big Red, when they were playing football in St. Louis. And some of these guys, the linemen, I mean, arthritis, they can't move. Some of them will be in walkers. It's really sad. And playing on that turf, the turf now is more bouncy.
Okay.
The old turf was concrete.
Yeah.
And
carpet on top of concrete.
And so we'd even, if you go out to run in between starts or whatever, you'd have to get on the warning track where it was kind of spongy. It was hard on the knees. Now, granted, we're throwing off the dirt.
Right.
These guys that were running out there every day, I don't know how they do it. Some of these guys they're playing 150 out of 162 games, and on the turf, it's brutal. Plus, it's hot. I mean, it's hard to play in St. Louis in the summer, and a lot of the places that you get hot and humid, but it'd be 150 degrees on the turf. And it's hard. These guys, I don't know how they do it. I guess they're getting paid to do it, so that's what they did. But
now, as we're wrapping up today, I don't want you guys that watch this to think we're all about the Cardinals, but we do have a little bias here. So, Andy, thanks for hanging out with us. Phil, what a great time.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.
you bet. Go Cards.